Hello, dear students. As you all know, I am Dr. Himaya Skodad and I am going to teach some part of the paper Understanding Marginalities. So, this is my first class, and I am going to start with the meaning of marginalization or the concept of marginalization. And I believe that you all are from different streams. And these topics are slightly different from the topics you study in your regular course. So I'll try to make it as simple as possible, and if you have any doubts, feel free to ask me. So I'll start with the topic. So first of all, let us try to understand the word marginalization. So, what is meant by marginalization? This is basically derived from the word margin. So, what is margin? I think all of you know the meaning of margin. So, in any notebook or any paper which something is written, it always has margins on the side. So, you can say that in similarly in any society, in any social situation, there is a margin or there are margins in the society, and any individual who is not included in the main part of the society, or is kept away from the main part of the society, is said to be marginalized, or he is left to stay on the margins of the society. So he is not part of the mainstream of the society. He is not part of the. He is not in the center of the society. So that is the basic meaning of marginalization. So in such a case, any individual can be marginalized in different contexts. So an individual who is in the mainstream of society in his own village may feel marginalized when he goes to another city or in an urban setting. Similarly, but the same person is not marginalized when he is in his own village or in his own setting, in his own home. This can vary from an individual may face marginalization in different places or at different times in his life. So, an individual who is marginalized for a few years may come out of this marginalization after a few years, or who has not faced marginalization of any kind in the initial years of his life may face marginalization in the later years of his life. And again, the situation may change again. So, marginalization is not something which happens to a group of people throughout their life, or which is constant. So it is a very dynamic phenomena, a dynamic social phenomena, and it can keep changing. So this is to put it in very simple terms. So I have tried to explain this with this figure also, with this image. So as you can see, this image has the some of the people who are in yellow color. They are in the center of the page or center of this image. So they represent the people who are in the center of the society. Whereas there are three individuals who are in white color, and they are on the margins of this image, or on the outside the center of the society, outside the center of the page, or metaphorically speaking, they are outside the center of the society. So these individuals are said to be marginalized. So this is to put it in very simple terms. So let us have a look at some of the definitions. So the first definition which we are going to have a look at is given by the Encyclopedia of Public Health. So as per this definition, to be marginalized is to be placed in the margins and thus excluded from the privilege and power found at the center. So this is a very simple definition. So it says that whenever you say that an individual or a group is marginalized, so he or the group is said to be placed in the margins or the borders of the society. And when an individual is thus placed at the margins of the society, he is excluded from certain privileges and power from the center. So he may be excluded from certain privileges like education or economic rights or access to a religious place or a social setting. So or suppose an individual is excluded from certain power or certain rights, so then he is said to be marginalized. Or if the entire group is facing such exclusion, then the entire group is said to be marginalized. So this is as per the definition of the Encyclopedia of Public Health. I hope this definition is clear to all. So I'll go to the next definition by Cambridge Dictionary. So as per this definition by the Cambridge Dictionary, marginalization is the act of treating someone or something as if they are not important. So this is a very simple definition. So it says that any act which shows that you are treating someone or something as if that person is not important or that group of people is not important. So that is marginalization. So when you are not treating any individual on par with the entire society, so you are not giving that individual access to the things or the privileges that are accessible to everyone in the society. So that act is called as marginalization. So this is the definition by Cambridge Dictionary. So let us have a look at one more definition by Lexico Dictionary. So as per the Lexico Dictionary, marginalization is treatment of a person, group or concept as insignificant or peripheral. So this is a continuation of the definition given by Cambridge Dictionary. So it says that marginalization is the treatment or the act of treatment of a person, group or concept as insignificant. Insignificant is unimportant. So when you treat a person as unimportant or a group as unimportant or any ideology as unimportant, that is marginalization. Or if you treat a person, group or concept as peripheral. Peripheral is you are not allowing the person or the group or the concept to enter the mainstream. So peripheral is nothing but the borders or the margins. So when you are keeping a person on the borders or on the margins of the society, then that person is said to be marginalized. Or if you are treating that person or group as unimportant, then again that person is said to be marginalized, or that process is called as marginalization. So this is the definition by Lexico Dictionary. So let us have a look at one more definition by Your Dictionary. So this definition says that it is the process of making a group or class of people less important or relegated to a secondary position. So according to this definition, marginalization is nothing but the process. It is a process of making a group or class of people less important or relegated to a secondary definition. So as you can see, this definition contains one point which is similar to the earlier definition. That is, this also says that this is a process of making a group or a class of people less important or unimportant. So it adds one more point. This definition adds to the earlier definition by giving an additional point. That is, it is a process of making the group relegated to a secondary position. So they are treated as secondary citizens. They are not part of the mainstream society. So any such process which creates a group of people as secondary to other people in the society, that process is called as marginalization. So this is the definition by Your Dictionary. Then there is another definition by the Free Dictionary. So as per this definition, marginalization is the social process of becoming or being made marginal, especially as a group within the larger society. So this definition also calls marginalization as a process, but it calls it as a social process. So there is an additional element of the word social. So this process is a social process. And what does the process include? It is a process of becoming or being made marginal. So marginal is nothing but being kept on the borders of society, being not be allowed to join the mainstream society. So this is similar to the other definitions, but the important thing to be noted in this definition is that the process of marginalization is mentioned as a social process, which was not observed in the earlier definitions. So let us have a look at one more definition by Business Dictionary. So marginalization is the process whereby something or someone is pushed to the edge of a group and accorded lesser importance. This is predominantly a social phenomena by which a minority or subgroup is excluded and their needs or desires ignored. So this is comparatively an elaborate definition. So at the outset, it calls marginalization as a process, and this process includes the something or someone being pushed to the edge of a group or the margins of the group and being accorded lesser importance or being treated as less important. So this part of the definition has definitely been covered in the other definitions also. This is a more elaborate definition. It also adds that this is predominantly a social phenomena. So this supports the earlier definition which called marginalization as a social process. So this also says that it is predominantly or mainly a social phenomena by which a minority or subgroup is excluded and their needs or desires ignored. So this is called as a social phenomena through which a minority or a subgroup is excluded from the mainstream of the society, and further their needs or desires are totally ignored by the mainstream society. So this is the definition by Business Dictionary, which is very elaborate and which includes almost all the points covered in the earlier definitions. So there is one more definition by Ghana S. Gurung and Michael Kalmayer. According to this definition, marginalization is, or the concept of marginality is, generally used to analyze socio-economic, political, and cultural spheres where disadvantaged people struggle to gain access to resources and full participation in social life. In other words, marginalized people might be socially, economically, politically, and legally ignored, excluded, or neglected, and therefore vulnerable to livelihood change. So let us have a look at this definition in detail. That is, at the outset, it says that the concept of marginality is generally used to analyze socio-economic, political, and cultural spheres. That is, this marginalization may occur in socio-economic fields or political fields or cultural spheres. That is, the individual or the group is not given full access to the socio-economic uh, facilities or the political rights, or is not involved in the political sphere or the cultural sphere. So that is marginalization. And this is where disadvantaged people struggle to gain access to resources and full participation in social life. So as a result of this process of marginalization, the people or the group who are marginalized struggle to gain access to resources. So they do not have equal access to the resources available, and also they struggle to have full participation in social life. So they don't have equal access to the resources available, nor do they have equal access to for the full participation in the social life. So, in other words, marginalized people might be socially, economically, politically, and legally ignored, excluded, or neglected, and therefore vulnerable to livelihood change. So, this definition sums up In other words, marginalized people might be socially excluded, economically excluded, politically excluded, legally ignored, or neglected, and as a result of this, they are vulnerable to livelihood change. That is, their usual life, they do not have access to their usual means of livelihood, and they have to change their means of livelihood. So this is also a rather elaborate definition given by Ghana S. Gurung and Michael Kalmayer. I hope that these definitions have made the concept of marginalization clear to all of you. So these are the references for these definitions. You can also look up these references to get a better understanding of the concept of marginalization. So if you kindly make notes of all the definitions that I have given here, and you can also add some more definitions by looking at books or some internet sources. And if you have any doubts regarding this concept, kindly let me know and I'll clarify your doubts.